All right. Well, welcome to Module 2 of the Compassion Alchemy Meditation course. So this is a free course. It's 4 modules, and I'm glad you're here. So the flow for today, logistically, we're going to go, what was it? I think 10:30 to 1 for the morning. Then we have a 90-minute lunch. So we'll then come back and go 2:30 to 5 is today's schedule. So 10:30 to 1, 2:30 to 5. Yes. I did all of that arithmetic myself. I didn't have to ask for help or anything. I'm really feeling pretty proud of that. And today we'll see, my hope is to do a slightly more in-depth practice retreat. So we end up having, what is that, 2.5 hours per slot. And that can give us some pretty in-depth sessions of meditation. So there is a bit of theory involved in this course. Today in this module, there's theory involved in this course, but there's some theory involved in this module. But module 2, my hope today is to make this practice day accessible for all levels. And because it's module 2, to build on the foundation of module 1 and be able to settle in a little bit deeper. So just to give you kind of an overview of that, and then we'll do a brief practice, we'll do a little theory, and then we'll do a deeper practice. That's my plan for the next 15 minutes or so. Module 1 is the earth element, and that's where I really want to put all of the, hey, if you're just starting out learning to meditate, start here, right? And these are things like be comfortable in your breath, be comfortable in your body, be comfortable in your mind if possible. And if that's not possible, here are a few options by which you could get comfortable in your body, breath, or mind, right? This is from my many, many years of teaching meditation, and especially attempting to help people start a steady formal practice of their own. These are the big obstacles that we've run into, is that people think, okay, well, assumed an uncomfortable position in my body. Now I'll try to assume an uncomfortable position in my mind where I judge myself if I think anything. And then they wonder why they don't want to do it tomorrow, right? So, and it took me a long time to learn that. And so I want to pass on the jewels, which are, no, the first stage is actually getting really comfortable and learning to cultivate like an excess of comfort, like cultivate an extreme amount of comfort. And if you look at the rest of the path of meditation, which can go all sorts of different ways, a lot of it is learning to bring that internal steadiness, bring that internal comfort to different situations. And that's kind of like the whole thing. But if you don't have that at the beginning, if you don't sort of start with joy and ease, it's really difficult to do any of the other stuff. So that'll be fun. So anyway, the previous module is for that. So if any of you are doing this as your first module, either here live or later on the recording, just know you should be able to jump into this just fine. I'm trying to make all 4 of these all levels, but today we'll do a little more intensive meditation that we didn't do so much last time. We had a few full-length sets and a lot of little mini sets, because the idea was to give people this thing like, no, you could meditate for a minute, and that could be the start of your practice, right? You could, in transitions after your workout, you could do a 2:1 ratio breathing, and that's enough to start to bring some of this ease and comfort to body and mind. So today we'll do more of the gold that happens when you just keep sitting there. And the one sort of disclaimer that I want to give at the beginning, so that beginners can participate in this class safely, is that like any other powerful thing, meditation is not completely safe or innocuous. I know you may have heard something different from a podcast or something like that, but it's not true. It's not true. It's as you start to get deeper into your meditation, and we're not going to be going so intensively that there should really be much problem, but the same kind of warnings that come about for like using psilocybin or using cannabis or things like that should be applied to meditation. If you have a tendency toward bipolar, depression, or mania, or schizoid kind of disorders or things like that, what meditation is doing is attempting to destabilize you in a positive way. But if you're already not having ease with being stable, then doing a lot of meditation might not be the best thing in life for you. It might become very uncomfortable because it's meant to shake things up so that they can sort of evolve into a different level. So the last module is all about, what to do. Like maybe if you are in an unstable time in your life, like I just mentioned those other sort of kind of genetic factors because I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts on when not to do psilocybin. And so that's kind of on my mind, but it really does relate to like personal experiences on the meditative path that you can have really pleasurable experiences in retreat, and those can be really bad for you for the rest of the week or month or decade because they are destabilizing. So that earth element is all about the ones that are like, oh, yeah, where's your breath? Oh, it's right here, right now. That's right. Oh, look around the room. Find 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel. 3, I don't remember what the numbers are for which sense. But just getting really grounded. And then today we begin to move into the water element, and it's a little less grounded. So that's just kind of the disclaimer. And as we go, today I won't be doing a lot of kind of the trauma-informed mindfulness angle. But for you, what I do want to say at the beginning is if I say, okay, now we're going to do this 24-minute sit and stay and don't move. And if that becomes really uncomfortable for you, just ignore me and like get up in the middle, go for a walk outside, go pet the dog. And that will be better for you than like listening to the presumed hierarch of the show. And these are new insights that we are learning in a modern age, where there's data about sort of what percentage of people have their kind of depression eased from a meditative retreat, and what percentage of people come out of the meditative retreat with worse anxiety, right? And that wasn't really known when it's spiritual teachers who have something to gain by peddling their brand of meditation. You don't hear about that part. So with the era of internet feedback forms and research and things like that, we do start to hear like, oh yeah, there's a certain amount of discomfort that one should sit through. And there's a certain amount of discomfort, if you feel, if you have worked with actual significant trauma and had to recover from it, and you feel that that's being triggered in your meditation, what I would like to encourage you to do today, because we're online and, we can't hold your hand or anything, like literally. I don't mean that as a derogatory term that you might hear on some politician's ad. No, literally, we can't hold your hand to help ground you. In this context, oh, walk back. Oh, I'm a little triggered. Cool. Just chill then. Like go, get a drink of water, do some push-ups, take a bath, whatever works for you in that regard. And with that, then it makes it very safe to begin to become more of a psychonaut and explore those depths of consciousness, which is what you can do if you do a little more intensive meditation practice. So, sounds nice? Groovy? All right, excellent. So let's do a mini practice, and then we'll do a mini theory, and then we'll do our first real session of the day. So mini practice, I already alluded to it. You can take a posture if you want, or you can just sit there. We're going to do our 2-1 ratio breathing. And so all this is that your exhales are going to be twice as long as your inhales. The one that's often recommended is to exhale for a 6 count and inhale for a 3 count. You could experiment with that, or whatever pace feels good to your breath. And in this one, the only real reminder is that you're not pushing out all the breath with your exhale. You're making the soft exhale slower, so it takes twice as long to go out. Then just stay in that internal mode. If your eyes are closed, you can stay in that closed eye stance. Let your breath come back to its own pace. And just notice any state shifts that you may have experienced. And especially if you felt that breathing technique induce some relaxation or any kind of pleasure, see if you can then engage the savoring practice, in which you feel whatever's pleasurable or relaxed, and you try to really feel into it even more, as if you could increase that sensation. We're learning to foreground certain aspects of our experience in meditation. So we're foregrounding whatever is pleasurable or relaxing. And then final part of our just mini opening practice. Just think about what you'd like to get out of your class today or your retreat today. And in a version of this old Buddhist practice, just wish for yourself, yes, may I have that. May I have that happiness or clarity or release or community or whatever it is for you. And again, using the ability to foreground, feel into the good feelings associated with that. Like how awesome that would be if you got that. Feeling it in your body as if that were your current experience. And then the last trick that the ancient schools say really make it work is imagine then everybody in the world who wants that same thing learning or clarity or community or fun or silence. And then just imagine that it was flowing to them, or even that those sensations in your own body were radiating out like light, shining to them and blessing them with that wish. May they have that type of happiness or inner peace. Then when you're ready, we can do a different type of double breathing, which is you're going to exhale naturally. And then on the second half, you're going to push your exhale out. This Tibetan method, which is like releasing stale air. And then you just kind of reverse sigh, a refreshing inhale, do a couple of those. So it's exhale and then exhale more, and then just imbibe that in breath. Come on back. And we're ready to get started. All right. If you would be willing, so I'm studying this developmental human evolution stuff, evidence-based research, human development, spiritual stuff. And my pivot point is authentic sharing in community. It's really rough. It's the last thing I usually want to do most days, but they're like, if you're going to grow spiritually, this is the one to do. Oh, dang it. So what I would love, if you want to help me, or maybe even yourself, I'm not sure, would you be willing to share a couple of those words when you thought about what do you want to get out of this class today? What came up for you? That also helps me teach the class. So pop on or put it in the chat box, whatever you like. What do you say, Mike?
Let's see, some deeper knowledge and community would be great. Love meditating in community.
Yeah, there's something to it. As much as I resist, okay, I guess this is my share. Much as I resist that, like, oh, authentic sharing community, there's something really to it that makes the work go deeper or broader or something. So excellent. Okay, what in the chat box is coming? Comfort, peace and focus, mental stillness. So good. What else, y'all? Keep them coming. We got pause and clarity amidst a busy month. Yes, I feel you. I feel you.
Profound self-love and deep, deep peace.
Profound self-love and deep peace. Love it. Absolutely. Yeah, I think one for me, that stillness, as we may learn today, can often bring insight. And as I was sharing on my social media, my job requires me to have a constant stream of insight. And the well's been getting a little low. So I'm hoping as we go down into the depths, I'll find some of that, which usually happens. So yeah, Jim, I hear you. That the helping professions, is empathy and insight. They're like a reservoir that we have within, and the good news is meditation can sometimes refill that. So thank goodness. Diligence as well. Most excellent. Yes. This will be a great place for diligence. That's in there. Okay, beautiful. Well, if you got anything else to share, put it in that chat box. You're welcome to continue doing that. And let's dive in. So just a brief intro before our first extensive practice. First, let me ask you, how was that 2-1 breathing plus savoring? We did three practices in there in case you didn't catch them. 2-1 breathing, savoring, and then we did a very brief version of like the metta practice. May I have happiness in the cause of happiness. May all beings have happiness in the cause of happiness. Feel good? Awesome. Yeah, works pretty good. So we'll have some more of those little nervous system hacks today that we'll do. But that was mostly for our last module, the earth element. Savor, man. And that as well is one of the things we're going to do today. So last time we worked a bit with learning to define meditation basically as the art of directing attention. So today we're going to be working more on the capacity for focus, So this is, again, this eventually, did you know you guys are in the trial run? That's why this is a free class. I've taught meditation for like 25 years now, but I was given a vision, or, how do you say that? That doesn't sound weird and pretentious. I had this insight of a way of sort of structuring a meditative path to learn secularly without reliance on a particular belief system, but also that can help you navigate, whether you're a Christian mystic or a Sufi or a Buddhist Mahayanist or a Buddhist Vajrayanist or any of these things, sort of how to look at that path. And where we are is that earth element teaches us about comfort, grounding, and stability. And then usually as you study meditation, that's your first step, is to calm the mind down. And we remember, I mentioned a bit in the last class, that involves things like making an altar, cleaning your room, putting the phone on silent. Oh, did you put your phone on airplane mode so it doesn't vibrate during your practice session? You might want to do that now. This is level 1 meditation, right? Get some instruction. Find a community if you can. If you can't, find a cave so you don't even miss them because you feel so pretentious about it. I'm a cave meditator, whatever. Then when you've gotten a bit of that and it starts to kind of like gain a little momentum, like you do that yoga nidra session or something a couple times and you're like, whoa, this is cool. Yoga nidra is cool. Now they're calling, if you want to look up what the scientists are calling it, what do they call it? Non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. So if you wanted to look at like, the Yoga Nidra research, which includes Yoga Nidra, but is not limited to that tradition, you could learn about NSDR and start to, the two of you could start to teach that in your Compassion Alchemy meditation classes once you finish this 4-month course. So you get that going. Then the art is to refine your capacity to focus and still the mind, to refine the capacity to focus and still the mind. And that is what water element is referring to in this map. So the classic metaphor is that you've got choppy water or dusty water, or they'll use both of them. And through the skills that you developed in that earth element course, you learn to stay and stop messing with it so that it can settle down, right? So in the metaphor of the choppy water, you stop trying to like squash the waves to make still water. You just back off, you let the water still. And then they say, and then you can see the reflection of the moon clearly, which refers to kind of looking into the nature of things. Or in the dusty water, you stop trying to scoop out all the dust and you finally let it just settle to the bottom. And then you could see what's in the jar. Or you could get a drink of that clear water off the top or something like that. So that's where we're going. And we'll be using that foregrounding of attention skill that we learn in the earth element phase, which is learn to focus on pleasure, learn to focus on savoring, like somebody said in the chat box, that reminder. We have to remember to focus on savoring. We're biologically biased not to, and then culture comes and backs that up because you'll buy more if you're unsatisfied, and so we're double disadvantaged to get any savoring in our life. And that's why we have to do whole mini retreats on it. So once you get a bit of savoring, you've started to develop the muscle of foregrounding attention and backgrounding attention. And that's what we then bring into the deepening of stillness, where today we'll be doing some of these very sparse meditations, like just focusing on the breath for 20 or 30 minutes. But once you have that capacity to learn the trick that it's, when I say focusing on the breath, I don't know about you, but like there's like an elementary school teacher in my head connotation with that voice, like you have to focus. And then immediately there's going to be a little rebel that's like, no, I don't. And feel free to experiment with meditating that way if you haven't so far. It's not pleasant, and the mind doesn't get particularly quiet because you're enacting a form of tension. You're trying to constrict the mind onto an object of focus, and tension and constriction is the exact opposite of what makes for good meditation. So if instead we were to think of foregrounding the object of meditation, it starts to sound very much like what the Dzogchen masters teach us when they teach meditation, which is you don't try to cut out all the objects of the senses. You don't try to stop thinking. You just bring your breath to the fore. All of a sudden, the mind is like, ooh, the breath, what an interesting object. Oh, how relaxing it is to just focus on the breath, and all this other stuff comes up, but I'm here with my breath. It's still there. It's like, it's weird how different an experience that is. So this is just a bit about what we're into with this water element. There's going to be two aspects to today, and those are just for now, for working model. We'll get a little deeper into this as we go, but you could think of consolidation and reflection are the two aspects that we're going to work with in our water element day: consolidation and reflection. And this first one that we're about to do in a meditative session is the consolidation aspect. That's another way you could think of that directed attention, or what I'll use today, the foregrounding of an object of attention, the foregrounding of an object of attention. So, sound like fun? Should be really quite relaxing and restorative. So we're going to dive right in, excuse me, and do ourselves a 21-minute meditation session. And we'll actually take a 1-minute break before that, just in case you have to pee or something, so you can feel totally comfortable, or get yourself a cushion or something like that. So let's do that now. Let's take a 1-minute break, and then I'll give you the meditation instructions and we will dive in. So as we begin our meditation practice, we want to start with a good posture. And we talked about that a bit last time. So I highly recommend that your hips are slightly higher than your knees, especially if you're in a chair. But if that doesn't work for you, you can also sit in a chair with a back and scoot all the way back so you can actually lean against the back. Those are your two options for not having like tight abs and glutes that ultimately make meditation miserable. So either hips higher than the knees and feet on the floor. Now, if your feet don't reach the floor in any of the chairs of your house, that's okay. You could put a suitcase underneath them or a folded up blanket, and then you get this, it's kind of stable. So we want our posture to be nice and stable. The second thing we can do, and this is one of the Taoist insights, is that if you do a little movement practice before your meditation, it releases all the static in your somatic static, man, that's what we're going to call the band. Releases all the static in your somatic, and you can go deeper a little quicker. So what we'll do for that, I'll suggest, is that you lean forward until you feel off balance and like it would take effort to stay upright. So you know what that feels like. And then you're going to lean backward until you feel off balance and it would take effort. Okay. And then do a smaller one of each of those a few times, getting smaller and smaller with your pendulum until you find the spot where it's like just a basic column that sits there all on its own. Ooh, that one feels good. Just that could be my whole practice. let's do side to side real quick just for that. So this is less often a problem, but you never know. So it's like, oh, that's off balance. What about the other? Yep, that one falls over too. Okay, and then you just do a little pendulum, 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 until you're all the way in the middle. Okay, your hands can just rest down on your lap, or if you have a fancy meditation mudra that you like to do, you can utilize that. Generally, palm down is more calming for most of our minds. That's the one I recommend. Your eyes can be closed or open, but if they're open, I recommend half lidding them, half closing them and looking downward, because we're working to calm the mind. We're going to calm the mind. We're going to do a 21-minute sit. I'll give you a little instruction on the way in, and I'll remind you in the middle, and I'll give you a little instruction on the way out. So let's start with just a couple of those 2-1 breaths. And that's just a soft exhale that comes out nice and long. And your inhale takes about half the time. After just a couple of those, you can let the breath return to its normal, simple, easy pattern. And if you like, if you have a meditation technique that you really enjoy, you can feel free to do that for this session. The one I'm going to suggest, if you'd like to play along with the group, or if you'd like to practice what I think will be the best one for our first session, is that we do the practice of exhaling and internally saying the sound calm, calm. So when you inhale, you just inhale. When you exhale, not saying it out loud, but in your mind, you hear calm. When you intone that word internally, you can invoke a sense of calm, or you could just focus on the sonic qualities with the exhale. You could even do some savoring of anything that already feels calm. So whichever way of working with that feels best, you could try all of them during your practice. Exhaling with the internal sound calm. Just take note of your mind and see if it stayed on the meditation object or if it wandered. And if your mind's off doing something else, just please bring it back and foreground that inner mantra practice, calm. Take a moment to become aware of body and mind. And note whether you are on the object of meditation or somewhere else. And using that power of foregrounding, allow yourself to come back to that inner mantra practice if necessary. And then take note of your mind once again. And then we're just going to let go of that formal object of meditation. And we'll take a moment of mindfulness, just noting any changes in your body, breath, or mind. Perhaps remembering back to the beginning of our practice. And comparing. You could even take this opportunity for savoring if there's anything pleasurable or relaxing about your current experience. Mostly just noting with a neutral mind, with nothing to do, nothing to focus on, just noting what is. And then letting go of even that, we can invite the mind to begin to float up out of any deep states that it may have gone into. It's a very powerful and kind practice to help the mind transition gradually back to a more surface level awareness, a conversational awareness. And as you feel that shift take place, perhaps take a few sighs with your breath. And if your eyes were closed, you can allow them now to open or rise up, and we'll come on back. You could even stretch a little bit. Oh, that wasn't muted at all. All right. So welcome back. Ah, how pleasant. So there's our first meditation session. Let's hear how that was for you. How'd your body hold up? Everybody's body feeling good? Were you able to find a good posture? Any questions? Anybody need to work on that posture thing? Feeling good? Okay, how was your mind? Did you foreground? Did you act like a mean school teacher to yourself inside? Jim did. Okay, excellent, good. I mean, some folks like that. I was naughty. I was not focusing on my object. Here you go.
I
Detention.
absorb. I when that comes up, I have a scheduler. I have a naughty school teacher. I have different aspects that pop up, and I just absorb them. I just
Lovely.
hold out my arms and I give them a big hug, and then they just come right
That's
in.
great. That's great. Yeah, and you can really feel how if you've got some training in like parts work, when various aspects of meditation come up as distractions, it gives you, oh, that's that part, you know, and it can release quite easily. What else? Yes, laying down, no problem. These meditations mostly can be done laying down. The only challenge with laying down, of course, is that you're more likely to go to sleep. But this is part of the finding our position, our meditative posture. And that's, despite what some books might have told you, that's going to be different for every person, and sometimes different on different days. So yeah, in this class especially, feel free to lay down or do a lazy boy, meditate in your recliner if you want. That works for you. You could also stand and practice. In our Taoist tradition, there's a long tradition of standing to meditate. And then I learned later that folks like Socrates and Pythagoras used to like to do that too. They would do these standing meditations. So feel free. That's one. If sitting is uncomfortable, but laying down is too sleepy, you could try standing. So and then of course there's walking meditation, which we likely won't cover in today's class, but you should know that's a totally viable option. My Tibetan Buddhist teacher actually, when she leads meditation, because there's a piece of this in the trauma-informed work that sometimes sitting will trigger stuff, but walking meditation won't. And so she'll actually teach walking in place to do step forward, 1, 2, and step back, 1, 2. So if you don't have a whole zendo to do your kinhin walking, then you can actually just stand right in your place, and that little bit of movement can help the body to ease and maybe not be in pain for some of us. That's important, and can also help the mind to ease in a way sometimes that sitting still won't. So you're welcome to check that out as you need to, because there's no right posture. There's just what do each of these postures do to me, and that's going to be somewhat unique. Let's see what else. Yeah, it took a while to drop in. Me too. I had my teacher brain on for the whole first half. I was like, okay, now don't butt in and tell them to refocus too fast. But wait, what time is it? Did I go into a time warp in meditation yet? Nope. Okay, it's only been 3 minutes. How is that only 3 minutes? Okay, but what are you going to tell them? Right. And so there's a whole thing of when you're leading the class and meditating. So that was me today. That was pretty fun. What else? Yeah, sat still don't think I've sat still that long for a while. And that is this modern life, right? And, for you, because you are you're in yogi traditions, there's a bias in these yogi traditions that you may not have this bias. I'm just talking trivia now, but there's a bias in these non-dual yogi traditions that it's kind of like, hey, having a kid is meditation, and going to work is meditation, and making pumpkin spice lattes for your uncle is meditation. And we can, because of that bias, we can actually miss out on what comes from the sits, which is a distinct thing. It's a very unique thing that you can't really get without the sitting still or lying still. Sit, the za in zazen, in the Zen tradition, sit does require something of your body, but really it comes to refer to a mind state, like set, like to set down. But we start that through sitting down. So yeah, well, excellent. We're on the on-ramp, so we get to chat a bit before we do some longer meditation sessions or deeper or whatever. So any quick questions at this point, just from that session? Did you encounter any problems or anything that you need addressed to be able to go on, or are we ready to go on to some new stuff? This is the great thing about having a class, is that, if something unique happens to you, we can cover it right away. Feeling good? Okay. Cool. Excellent. Let me get a sip of water. So we're going to do let's see, we go on a break at 1. So we're going to do a tiny bit of theory, and we're going to take an actual mid-morning break for tea or whatever you like. And then we'll come back and we'll do a couple of meditation sessions back to back. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So theory, compassion alchemy system. You are in a mini retreat of the compassion alchemy meditation system, which, like I said, you're the guinea pigs. You're actually round 2, the guinea pigs. My level 2 Qigong teachers were round 1 of the guinea pigs. But I just wanted to give you just a little intro to the intent of this system. And it was born out of, I was about to give, so my level 2 Qigong instructors, I make them go through this whole communication and coaching training that took like 6 months. And it was one of the best ways to spend 6 months that I've ever done. I hope they write a testimonial to that effect, but I haven't asked them yet. Anyway, we're getting to the last couple modules of where we had been doing all of these techniques on ourselves, and on like one of the modules fell around Thanksgiving or something. So I was like, go do this to your family, setting boundaries, doing your shadow work at Thanksgiving. And it was really great. And we came to the last couple modules, which were about coaching. And I happened to, at the same time, be listening to a book on esoteric Tibetan post-death practices, right? The Bardo, in case you have heard of these, right? I can find the name for that book on the break if you like. Yeah, it's a cool author, and he also has some books on dream yoga, which would be directly applicable to today's class. So anyway, I'm listening to this course, and as sometimes happens, in meditation or while I'm working in the yard or something like that, I'll get like a download. This is new age speak, for when intuitive thing, just all of it. Whoa, where'd that come from? The buffering rate is great today. I got a download. Is this a zip file? I'll unzip it on the astral plane. And what sort of came alive for me was that the stages of the Bardo in the post-death experience, you'll recognize, excuse me, because they're the order of these modules in our compassion alchemy training. They say the elements dissolve. So this is not the point of the class. So to make it brief, they say, okay, the breath stops. And then in the consciousness, whoever that is, according to their tradition, they say the earth element dissolves, and then the water element. These are like the subtle constituents of our makeup. And various things happen subjectively to your consciousness as these elemental dissolutions are happening. Okay, I can't tell you whether that's true until the end of this life. I don't know when that's going to be, so I'll get back to you with the Ouija board or something like that. But what struck me was that the same things happen anytime we have a disruption or a transition or a trigger in our regular waking life. So we were talking about, like, coaching through relationship challenges or something like that. And you may recall, I know not a lot of us have those at any time in our lives, right? But if you've ever, here's how I often see it in my own life. It's like you're sitting there chatting with someone that you care about, and then one person says something that triggers the other one. Am I the only one who's ever experienced this? Okay, cool. You watch some rom-coms. It happens all the time on there. Okay, and then you may feel, if it's intense enough, you'll feel the whole sort of inner and outer atmosphere gets kind of like destabilized. Like for a minute, you'll be frozen. And that's the exact experience of the dissolution of the earth element. You'll also experience this related to the dream yoga thing. This is one of the things you learn to stay conscious of as you go to sleep, which is part of the yoga nidra training, is that the body will go totally still. And it's one of the things, if you ever wake up with sleep paralysis, why that's so disturbing is your mind wakes up, but your reticular activating system has still turned off your body, so your body can't move. Okay, in yoga talk, ancient yogi talk, that's called the earth element dissolved, right? That you don't have this like relation to the world of form through sensation and stuff like that. So what's interesting is when we go through any kind of transition into sleep, transition into the post-death state, they say, but also when your ego is going to go through a transition, right? You went to therapy, they said some stuff, you walk out 3 hours later, it hits you and you go like, oh no, I'm the common denominator in those last 3 relationships. And then all of a sudden, like, why can't I feel my feet? So it feels like you're sort of like ejected from contact with earth. And then they say, oh, then the water element dissolves. And when the water element dissolves, the inner experience is everything becomes like murky. Everything becomes kind of fuzzy. And you'll know this if you've ever had like a trigger or an emotional flooding state, right? These will happen, we can have disagreements in intimacy of varying levels. Sometimes, oh, just the earth element dissolved, and then we resource and oh, we're back. But if that continues, then you go into this like, oh, I don't know what anything even is. And I feel kind of wiggly, and like you get noodly inside the mind and body. And in the post-death state stuff, they say this is where like hallucinations, visions start to come up. In our regular life, this is where like all the automatic negative thoughts of cognitive behavioral therapy might come up, all of our projections onto the other person, right? So I had this the other day. I was teaching a class, and somebody sort of just like mildly challenged me on something, and I just wasn't resourced in the moment. Like my earth element was already not quite intact. And so all of a sudden my mind went like, oh, fuck, dude, this is the wrong career path for me, and nobody likes you, and you're gonna go broke. And meanwhile, it's the apocalypse, and it's just like, and it's just and none of that was happening right then. Fortunately, I reined it in. I was like, bro, let's have a talk, you and me. You're gonna go get a muffin. You're gonna take a couple 2-1 breaths. All shall be well. But the phantasms and the hallucinations come up when this water element dissolves. This is like the hypnagogic state. If you've ever, you don't have to be a trained dream yogi to have had this, right? Have y'all ever had, like when you're falling asleep, you can note when the body gets heavy, there's this distinct shift. They call the earth element dissolution. And then sometimes if you're going in and out of sleep, you'll go into like half dreams and then wake up. That's the water element dissolution. Don't tell the yogis I told you that. It's supposed to be secret. No, it's the age of aquariums. So we can tell you about water element and the age of aquariums. So so this goes on. Then the fire element dissolves, and they say this is where, in the post-death state, this is where the body begins to get cold. Same thing actually as you go to sleep. This is where your temperature drops and you should be kind of like bundled up. And then the wind element dissolves and various things happen. But this was like this revelation as I was teaching communication and like transformational coaching. I was like, wait a minute, any transformation we go through this dissolution of the elements. And then why? So the intuition went, why our transformations are not often like really successful, like we're not going like, oh no, I'm the common denominator in all those relationships. And then just like, jumping a whole life level, is that usually we'll get stuck freaking out at one of the elemental dissolutions. This is what they say in the Tibetan post-death practice, is that, the earth element starts to dissolve, everything gets heavy, you lose sensation, you go into this like stillness. And then if you have a lama like reading you the text, what the texts say is, that's just your earth element dissolving. Don't freak out. It's gonna be fine, right? And then the water element dissolves and you're like, okay, now you're gonna see some phantasms and you're gonna see images. You're gonna feel all loosey-goosey. Don't freak out. That's fine. It's perfectly natural. People die all the time, and so on and so forth. And the insight was like, whoa, what if we had that knowledge for when, your intimate partner says something triggering and you go into this full spiral and you can go like, oh, wait, that's just my mind populating cognitive distortions. Everything's fine. People go through cognitive distortions every day. This could be an ego death that I've been waiting for. I've been doing all this Kundalini practice just for this moment. And we could start to look at these things as actual like opportunities for real transformation in consciousness. And thus was born the compassion alchemy system. You'll hear a little more about this as we go today, but the last thing I wanted to introduce was, so we started using that. I made that the protocol for our for a coaching session, either communication coaching or for transformational coaching. I'm giving you away the secrets. Now, if you're already a coach, you can put this in your practice, whatever. More is better in the world. But as a client comes to you, they're coming to you because something has been destabilized in their life. They are already in an earth element dissolution, or they're ready to destabilize something. They're like, I gotta quit smoking. And you're like, okay. And we meet them at the earth element with compassion, ease, and comfort. We resource as well as we can. Then we guide them through turning into a noodle. Becoming witnessing the fictions and the dreams and the phantasms that are arising in our experience. Then the fire element has a lot to do with working with the vital energies that live in this body and balancing those vital energies and things like that. And then the wind element is often, when you are coaching, there are new inspirations and choices. So this is fun. And then as we were finishing that course, just as things go, I happened to be looking at this system of human development. And as I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, it's the same elements in this system of human development, right? Because when you're born, couple, in, like, you could use Piaget's system or Levenger's system or Suzanne Cook-Greuter, or whoever your favorite developmentalist is. But when you're born, basically your job is to like receive information and not have a full sense of self yet. And the way that would work best is if you have these secure attachment relationships, right? If you have a lot of comfort, ease, and stability coming toward you, then you move into the consolidation phase, which is our water element. So as you hit about 5 years old, you start to develop concepts of self and other, and like the rules that govern the world, and you begin to actually consolidate a sense of self. Then as you grow a little older, as you become a teenager, you start to realize that your rules and norms of the world are not fixed. They don't always work. The ideals that you've started to develop to be able to get to 14, 15 years old are your ideals, but the rest of the world can be a difficult place. And you have to learn to do this like reconciling of opposites thing to be able to grow to the next level of human development, and so on. And so what all of this coalesced as was this real inspiration that we could make a map of how humans navigate various transitions, both developmentally as well as in the moment where we're being destabilized and transforming. And there are specific meditative tools that go with each of those stages of the transition. And that's what inspires me the most, because of things like trauma-informed mindfulness. Like I said, this is kind of a new field, but what we find is that if in your system, let's say you didn't get that type of secure attachment or something like that, you can use some of the later tools, of some of the tools we'll do today, of like seeing through the cognitive distortions and doing dream yoga. You can do those, but they'll make your problems worse if what you need is comfort and relaxation and community and compassion, right? So a lot of people enter meditation at the water, what I call the water element phase. They sit there and let the mind settle down. And they may have real unmet human needs, which are actual forms of like spiritual and emotional nourishment for humans. And they take Zen, for example, as a great example. And they do like kind of like the inner dude bro of Zen, and they just kind of knuckle through it. And they go, nope, the mind's like, oh gosh, I wish I had a caring relationship with authentic sharing. And so, yeah, no, that's a fiction. Shut up. And you can meditate like that for like 30 years. And you will meet, okay, not to call out others, I can call out myself, you'll meet long-term Zen practitioners who are just total dicks. And they've got so many hours on the cushion. They've got so many hours on the cushion. And it's like, how does that happen? And so, one theory is like, okay, meditate, and you also need to go to therapy. And that's actually a pretty darn good model. But I think we could add to that. We could become even more efficient or have a deeper understanding if we recognized that the full spectrum of meditative techniques actually has ones that aim at all the different facets of our human experience and can help us grow and develop where our leading edge is, or can help us go back and heal where some of these underdeveloped aspects of ourselves are, can go help and illuminate our shadows where we've split off pieces of our ego, or we've incorporated somebody else's image. And we can actually, when we get the picture that meditation is not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon, we can aim it very specifically. We can develop very specific tools and have a full sort of life trajectory of inner experience and development. So I just want to share that with you because I'm inspired. That's what the compassion alchemy system is all about. And my hope is to do it while I will use some religious language kind of poetically, like, the Tibetan Bardo and these elements. You do not have to believe that certain things happen when you die to do these practices. They've all been all the ones in this course have all been quite well researched, right? Not everything that I say I'll be able to make a citation for, but pretty much all of the concepts in this class, I have attempted to have them be ones that you could look up and somebody's done some peer review and even hopefully longitudinal research that says, no, that is true. It's not just this one guy who wanted to market that system who could do this. People in general can do this, and it helps them more than it hurts them. So I'm very excited about that. So we are in the water element. In our last episode, we did earth element, which was about getting this compassion, comfort, warmth. If you need to lay down, lay down. If you need to get a blanket, get a blanket. Regulate your breath and feel good. And then the nice thing is we don't leave that behind, but then we're going to shift into things. I'll tell you today, if you can, find a posture that works for you and try to park the body in it, right? So if you think, I'm going to need to lay down, you try to lay down and then you try to not move. And it's a slightly different focus. We still need the compassion, right? If you have pain or something, then move, come on. If you get triggered, do the walking meditation. But then the focus in this water element is, let's see if we can calm and consolidate the mind, which is a distinct set of meditative tools, right? So we have a set of meditative tools, which are resourcing, savoring, ease and grace, allowing that to even be possible in our lives. That could be a lifetime worth of work, man. And then on the foundation of that, or adjacent to that, or on alternate days from that, then we're going to have this thing of the mind's going to be like, I want ease and grace. And you're going to go, shh, dude, we're meditating. Is this the right posture for me? Is it the posture that you started out in? Then don't move, bro. We're meditating. And we'll be doing a whole set of tools that are in this facet of this meditative jewel. So I don't know, does that sound fun or weird or great? What do you say? Any talkbacks, any questions before we take a break and then come back for some deeper sessions? No? Okay. So it is 5 of the hour. let's come back. Let's take a 15-minute break so you can, do some burpees if you need to, or something. You could fit a whole high intensity interval training in that time if you had to. Your warm up and cool down wouldn't be great, but you do you, boo. And when we come back, I'll introduce a couple of practice sessions, and we're going to do 2 sessions back to back. So let's come back at 11 after, and I'll see you then.